Great. Nancy, am I a co-host? Because all of a sudden I have a big pop-up saying this meeting is being recorded. Can I take that pop-up away? Or does that, excuse me, everybody, sorry, because I like seeing you.
You should. Is there a little button that says, got it?
Got it, I got it, I got it, I got you. Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for taking the time to be with me this afternoon as we talk about Nordic walking, pole walking, trekking. Those are three terms that you hear rather interchangeably. And I'm going to give you, I don't have a typed up agenda, but I just want to give you just a little agenda on what's going to happen here this afternoon while we're together. I want to start off with you really just defining what is pole walking, Nordic walking, trekking, and then move on to all the benefits that come along with pole walking, and specifically how that might roll over and the benefits for people with Parkinson's walking with poles. And then once I've sold you on Nordic walking, I'm going to talk to you about how to choose the best poles for you. There's lots of them out there, and I don't think there's any one right or wrong type of pole to use. I'm going to admit right up front, I have a preference and I'm going to speak it. I don't get paid by that manufacturer. It's just from my experience working with people with Parkinson's, why I like that pole. And are you in suspense, waiting for that time to come? And then once I talk to you about things to consider using purchasing a pole, I want to get up close. It's really, this is going to be a little awkward, I think, doing it virtual, but we've all gotten used to virtual over the last year and a half, because I want to actually just take a pole up close and personal just to give you kind of like the anatomy of a pole. And I have two different brands with me today, and then we'll talk about different ways to adjust them. And then I'm going to take some time to demonstrate two specific techniques on using your poles based on you and what you want to get out of your pole walking. Once I do that, I want to move with you. I want to show you how you can use your poles to create amplitude, bigger movement, and also intensity. I looked at all your responses, and I know there's a handful of people who don't have poles. They're waiting for this great presentation to decide to buy poles. And that's perfectly fine. When we get moving, basically I'm going to use the power moves, the Parkinson Wellness Recovery power moves, which are high amplitude movement, but I'm going to use them with poles. If you don't have them, just come along with me. We'll do them seated, we'll do them standing. I'll talk about the benefit of the pole with them. And then I just want to show you just a couple different high intensity movements that you could use the pole for, in addition to walking with them. And then we'll have time for some questions. And if you have any questions as we go along, feel free to put them in the chat box, and Nancy can shout them out to me. The specific brand of poles that I really am a fan of has offered a discount. So after I get through all that, we'll put a discount code up on the screen. And if you're interested in purchasing poles there, you can go ahead and find that link and use them. Again, I don't get paid. This is just a personal plug. Okay, do you still want to stay after all that? Phew. Okay, nobody's signed out yet. So let's just start off. So Nancy, if you could just start with my first slide. Nancy's managing my slides, and I'm going to cue her. Let's talk about what Nordic walking is. So we'll go to the next slide, Nance. And Again, as I said earlier, Nordic walking, pole walking, trekking, those three terms have a tendency to be used interchangeably. I want to just clarify that trekking is a little bit different than Nordic walking and or pole walking. Basically, simple definition is it's walking with a specialized pole to help move you forward. Just getting a little bit of momentum to get that pole to move you forward. Trekking is really the same thing, but when you refer to the term trekking, it's usually involves walking on a rough terrain, a gravelly, rocky, uneven terrain. So if you're going to go out and hike the gorge or hike in Central Oregon, you would probably be trekking. If you want to use the poles to help move you forward as you walk around a park or walk through your neighborhood, that is Nordic walking and pole walking. I don't want you to get confused. I have a tendency to always use the term pole walking. I'm going to try to stick with just one term. I think most of my slides refer to Nordic walking, but don't get confused if I mess up and start using both terms. I'm talking about the exact same thing. That's the definition, and let's move on and talk about the benefits of pole walking, Nordic walking. Why should you go out and invest in a pair of poles? So if we can move to the next slide, there's actually a lot of benefits for Nordic walking, not just for the general public, but for people with Parkinson's disease. There's been over 300 research studies involved in looking at the benefits of Nordic walking, and 18 specifically that deal with Nordic walking for people with Parkinson's. I'm going to highlight several benefits, general benefits. Some of them are specific to Parkinson's, but after I highlight those, I'm going to come back and really highlight 4 or 5 different that is really very Parkinson's specific. So here we go. Benefit number 1. If you think about a common posturing that happens with Parkinson's, it ends up to be a little bit of a forward head, rounded shoulders. So you get a little bit of a stoop posture. So first benefit that I want to talk about is that using the poles can help really promote an upright posture. While you're sitting there, I'd like you all just to sit up so you're in a comfortable sitting position. And if you have your poles there, you can go ahead and put them in your hands. If you don't, I want you to think that you've got something here in your hands and you're pushing down on that. And I'm hoping that as you do that, as you push down, regardless with poles in your hands or not, what happens? You lift your chest up. You go from more of a relaxed, rounded posture to a taller, straighter posture. So going out and walking with a set of poles can really help promote that upright posture that we want to be in. In addition to the posture benefit, walking with your poles can also help improve balance and stability. Think of this, and you don't have to do this now, but when you put your poles on the ground and you're getting ready to go for a walk, you're actually adding 2 additional points of contact with the ground before, in addition to your 2 feet. So now you've got 4 points of contact. You have a little bit of a bigger base, a sturdier base, and it's giving you just a little bit more balance and a little bit more stability. What goes along with that? If you have a little bit more confident, you feel a little bit more stable, you're going to go out and walk with a little bit more confidence. If stability and balance are an issue for you, You might hesitate going out in the outdoors and walking and getting your exercise through walking. But if you add those 2 extra points, you're feeling a little bit more stable, a little bit more confident. You might be more likely to get out there and do it, as opposed to say, oh no, I'm worried if I go out and take that walk, I might fall. So adding those poles in your hands, just make you feel a little bit more comfortable going out there, building confidence. When you walk with your poles, you have your poles in your hands, it requires you to use both your legs and your arms. Oftentimes with Parkinson's, we have a tendency to lose a little bit of that arm swing. If you take any kind of exercise class, you might have an instructor that really is encouraging you to swing both arms. When you put the poles in your hand and you have to use them to move yourself forward, it's really encouraging you to swing the arms. You're using both your upper body and your lower body, so you're getting a full body, a whole body workout. You're activating your whole body at the same time. When you're using the poles to help move you forward, they actually help encourage you to walk a little faster and walk a little bigger. One of the cardinal symptoms of Parkinson's disease is bradykinesia, that slowness of movement. So as we go through these techniques, we're going to talk about how to move bigger and faster, but it really helping you to walk a little bit faster and a little bit bigger. I kind of got off my slides here a little bit because I want to tie those 2 pieces together, because those 2 benefits really tie in to a research project that was done several years ago. The project looked at Nordic walking, regular walking, and a relaxation flexibility type of program. And the end result after the study got through is it showed that everybody in all 3 groups had reduced pain, they lowered their pain. They had a self-reported increase in their quality of life. They felt like their quality of life was better, and they felt that their balance had gotten better. So across all 3 groups, nothing changed. That was pretty steady. But the group that did the Nordic walking showed that people had more bigger strides, greater stride length, more even gait pattern, and bigger movement. And you know, when it comes to Parkinson's, that's huge, to normalize out your gait pattern and increase your stride and move a little faster. So think about it. You're moving bigger, you're moving faster. What does that mean? It means you're working harder, that there is intensity there. That means that you're getting an aerobic workout. You're getting your heart rate up, and you're getting some good out of that aerobic exercise. Generally speaking, for anybody, regardless of whether you have Parkinson's or not, we all need aerobic exercise. It has these great cardiovascular benefits, reduces blood pressure. In addition to that, when you're exercising and getting more physical activity, you might sleep better. You might feel better. So you get all those added benefits of aerobic exercise that everybody else would. But specifically speaking to Parkinson's disease, we know that people with Parkinson's disease need aerobic exercise. You need to work aerobically, getting your heart rates up, working at an intensity that might feel a little uncomfortable. And in doing that, you are somebody's not quite muted. Okay, sorry about that. Randy, if you could make, there you go, perfect. Thank you so much. Sorry for that interruption. Now I totally lost my train of thought. People with Parkinson's need aerobic exercise. It primes your brain. It gets you attentive. It gets you ready to go, but it also helps facilitate neuroplasticity. There was another study that was done that showed that walking with your poles, pole walking, Nordic walking, can have a beneficial impact on freezing of gait. And if you're a freezer or whether you're not a freezer, I have personally always found, and I think research would support it, that when people with Parkinson's exercise, they respond really well with cues, both visual cues, verbal cues, tactile cues, and the poles actually give you two cues. I believe they give you a verbal cue. So you don't need to pick up poles here if you have them, but you know that you need to reach a pole out. You need to reach a pole out so you have a target where you're reaching your pole toward to help you maybe take that bigger stride. But you're also getting a tactile cue when your poles make impact with the ground. You can feel the feedback from the ground as you push into your poles. It gives you that cue to stand taller and move bigger. So it really can help if you're a freezer. You've got a visual cue, a visual target to go ahead and take your pole to, and the research does support that it can help minimize your freezing of gait. I don't know if you're like me, but as I've gotten older, my knees and my hips and my ankles hurt. And if you go back to what I said earlier about pole walking helping to increase your stability and balance because you have two extra contact points with the ground. Well, those two extra contact points with the ground help absorb the impact. So pole walking can help reduce the stress on your lower body, your knees, your ankles, and greatly appreciated for people like me with knee replacements and arthritic joints. So those are general benefits. I'm going to talk a little bit, and I addressed it all already, about pushing down on your poles. So if you have poles, go ahead and pick them up. If you don't have poles, I want you to imagine you're pushing down into the ground so you get this lifted posture. I'm hoping at this point you feel all these core muscles, all the muscles from your thighs to your chest, they kind of had to engage. And so if you think about going out for half hour, 40 minutes in this upright posture, you're also helping to improve your core strength. And when you add all those things together, you're walking taller, you're walking more confidently, you're walking bigger and quicker. That all adds up to a better quality of life for you, which is huge. And that's my general overview of benefits, but I want to just go back and just really think, as a person with Parkinson's, what are your main takeaways as reasons that it would be a benefit to walk with poles? Number one is balance. Postural instability is a symptom of Parkinson's. So if you are feeling unbalanced, unstable, using those poles can really add that stability for you. Number two is posture, working on getting you out of that forward rounded posture, helping you stand taller. Helping to combat bradykinesia, that slow, small movement, by getting you moving faster and bigger. And then again, maybe if you're a freezer, helping facilitate to have less freezing. Now I want you to step away from that and think about some of the non-motor symptoms that come along with Parkinson's. Maybe depression, maybe anxiety, lower moods, lack of sleep, not sleeping through the night, maybe constipation. I'm here to tell you, everybody, whether it's pole walking or any type of exercise, exercise can help combat those non-motor symptoms. If you're going out with your poles, you're getting into the outdoors, you're getting fresh air, you're enjoying nature. Maybe you're going out with a friend, so you have that social interaction, or maybe you're going out with a group. And that all leads up to just really just feeling better, getting things moving, so to speak, helping you to sleep better and feel better in terms of mood. Okay, I hope you have those great takeaways. Have I just talked everybody in to wanting to go out and buy a set of poles if you don't already have one? I'm getting no response. Put your thumbs up if you're interested. Put your thumbs this way if maybe. Thumbs down, no. Okay, I see some thumbs up, so I'm gonna keep going. You've made the decision, or you already have a set of poles. I'd like to move to the next slide now and talk a little bit about choosing the right poles. And I wanna start by saying, there's no best or better pole. Can you choose a bad pole? Did you buy the wrong poles if you already own them? No, you're halfway there, you've got a set. But I do want you just to take some things into consideration if you're gonna go out and buy a set, or maybe wanna invest in a new set. And the first is whether you're buying a set of adjustable poles. My preference is, I think an adjustable set of poles is really important if you're going to travel, if you're going to put them in your car or in your backpack and carrying them around. They can collapse up into half the size so that they can pack easily into a suitcase. So you want to ask yourself, do I want adjustable poles? Or do I not want to worry about it? Maybe you just want a fixed shaft where you just don't have to worry about it. But if they are adjustable, you've chosen to get an adjustable set of poles, you want to make sure, particularly when we know some of the fine motor aspects that happen with Parkinson's, that when you go to adjust them, you're going to be able to adjust them easily. So easy to adjust if you want them adjustable. Number two, and again, it's all personal, is this pole comfortable? Does my hand fit in the grip comfortably? Do I feel like I could go out for 20, 30 minutes or more and hang on to this grip? Does it feel right for me? And then you're going to want to think about what type of pole to get. Traditionally, poles are made out of either aluminum or carbon fiber. You want to make sure, regardless of the material, that it's going to be strong, because I've said to you earlier, you need something that you can lean into, that you can push down, that's going to help bear your weight. So you want it strong and you want it durable. And again, you might want to go out and sample different poles. How does this feel? Is it comfortable? The grip comfortable? Does it feel, as you push into it, does it feel like it can support my weight? Aluminum versus carbon fiber. Well, aluminum has a tendency to be a little bit more strong, a little bit sturdier, a little bit more durable. Added benefit of aluminum is that it costs less than carbon fiber, and cost might be a determining factor for you if you're going to go out and buy a set of poles. The negative to the aluminum is the weight. And I'm going to show you a set of aluminum poles, and it's very doable. But again, that's why I'm going to always encourage you, go out and try it. Because if you have a heavier aluminum pole, and you want to be able to work on your endurance and get out there and move for an extended period of time, you want to have a light enough pole that you're not going to fatigue because you're pushing around a heavier pole. So there's the pros and cons to aluminum. Carbon fiber, on the other hand, is much lighter weight. Barely weighs anything. So you want to make sure it's sturdy, even though it's lighter weight. And the downside of that is that it's more expensive. Carbon fiber is always going to be more expensive. It's lighter, easier to push around. There have been instances where people have found that if there are Nordic walking or this would actually be trekking in rough terrain, that the carbon fiber sometimes splintered. So you need to decide, what is the terrain that I'm going to be walking on? Is it a carbon fiber? Is it a smooth terrain? Is it grass? Is it pavement? Or am I going to be going up and down the side of a hill in gravel and sand? So those, again, just things to consider. I saw somebody put a little chat up. I've done a little bit. I've done a little bit of investigating on cost of poles. I've seen poles for as inexpensive as $22.99 a pair to as high as $200 a pair. You don't need to go out and spend a ton of money. There are a lot of good poles out there. I saw the little chat come up saying Costco has a pair for $30, did I see? And I don't know what brand that is. It might be Kelty. And there's good brands. But I think if you're going out for the first time to go buy your set of poles, I would really recommend that you go to a store, REI, a mountaineering store that knows a little bit, and get in there and try them and think about all those factors that I mentioned that you want to consider. Is this strong and durable? Is it easy for me to adjust? Do I feel like it could support my weight? So kind of like a little checklist. And Nancy, are these slides going to be available to people after the fact? So it just kind of, these are the things I want to have included, and check down that list. I'm going to just shout out, and there's tons more of different polls that are out there. And again, just want to say, I'm not going to say any is better than the other. It's really about what you feel is going to work to meet your needs. But common brands out there are Leaky, and I'm going to show you my Leaky poles, Leiki. REI has their own brand. Black Diamond has a brand. Kelty is a brand. I was looking at polls the other day. Trail Buddy is a reputable brand. I think they're all pretty reputable. And I freely admitted when we started this afternoon that I had a personal preference. And the last one you see on your slide there are the Activator and the Urban Polling poles. I'll demonstrate that to you in just a moment. So now what I'd like to do is just give you just like a little pole 101, just a little anatomy of your pole. And I have two different poles that I'm going to show you and talk about the different types of adjustment, not how to adjust them yet for you. I will look at different adjustments. So I want to get a little closer. I want to make sure, am I close enough that you can all see this pole? Nance, can you have a good view of this? I want to start from the top down and just kind of a summary of what I talked about. This is my Leaky pole. And so looking at the grip, is the grip comfortable? This kind of has rubber and cork on it. So there's different types of textures for the grip. It has a strap that you can put your hand into and wrap around. I want to tell you a little story about using a strap. And this, I don't want to say this is documented evidence. This is personal Nancy Nelson experience that I have found that once you get this hand in the strap, you're tied to this pole, right? I was walking with a big group with a woman who took a fall as we were going downhill, and the strap didn't leave her hand. It ended up going into her chest. She wasn't injured, but you know, once you're in it, you're in it. So when my personal opinion is when I grab the pole, the handle, the grip, I just grab it. Just a little sidebar. So as I mentioned earlier, some poles come in just one solid shaft. You get it. You get size, you size it, does it fit for me? And that's it, no worries. Other poles have what's called a telescoping adjustment. So I just want to get just a little closer. Don't know if you can all see on the top of this leaky pole, I have numbers in centimeters. I know for me, my top adjustment is at 90. I just want to show you the ease that this adjusts. I just unlock it. So the leaky poles has a locking telescoping adjustment. I push that in. Some poles have 2 pieces. Other poles have 3 pieces. My bottom adjustment is at 90. So I'm just going to push my bottom in, and now I have a very compactable, travelable in the back of my backpack pole that will travel with me. Then when I get ready to go ahead and use my poles, I've noted that that what my top adjustment is. I get locked in there. I note what, oops, I didn't, well, I'm going to take that off in a moment anyways. And I know my top adjustment, I lock that in and I'm ready to go. So that's your shaft. And then there's other poles, I don't have an example of this, that literally adjust by twisting and then sliding the telescoping pole into it. What I want to caution you on any of these, once you get locked in, I would really like for you to make sure you're locked in. Sometimes those spring mechanisms don't get locked in enough. So you want to make sure you're safe, that when you go and put weight on it, that pole's not going to collapse on you. And now I'm going to show you this tip. This is standard tip. And I'm trying to think, who was it? Was it Kathy that asked me about a tip, getting a new tip? Somebody asked me about a new tip. This is what's on the bottom of all your poles. It's a carbide tip. This is the tip that you would use if you were going to walk in sand or snow. And then you'd get a little adjustment to put on top of it. I just have a small one on this one. But there are different tips that you can use. I use my poles for intensity and fitness walking. I'm going to get a little closer here. This is a boot. And so if you want to use your poles to really increase your intensity, you would use a boot tip. And I'll talk to you about the adjustment of that in a moment. The other kind of tip is called a bell tip. Looks like this. This is on the pole that is excellent for stability and balance. You can only get this tip through the manufacturer of this pole, but it fits on all poles. So if you wanted to order a tip, I put them on my leaky this morning just to make sure I wasn't giving you wrong information. And if you don't need that big fat tip, but you still want to use your poles for balance and stability, there's other tips that can be purchased, look like this, or some that are thicker. And all of these tips, with the exception of the bell tips, are available at Amazon.com. That's where I bought all of my replacement tips. I did, in an emergency, when I was with a big group, I went to REI and I was able to buy just a package. You usually buy like 6 or 8 in a pack for your tips. Okay, so now you get to hear a little bit about my bias of the poles for people with Parkinson's, specifically that want to use it for just a little bit more stability. It's the activator pole. And I'm going to start at the very top. The great thing about it, I want to make sure that you see this. I don't know if you can see the letter L on that. That tells me that this goes in my left hand. This is a rubber grip. And the thing that I love the most about this is that there's this little ledge that you can rest your hand on, which allows you some of that core work that I was talking to you about earlier, that you can really use that grip. Your hand just fits so nicely into it. It has, can you see these little buttons? It has a button adjustment. So you just push the button. There's a white line. I don't know if you can see that there's little holes here, but you want to make sure the white line on the bottom part of the pole is lined up with those holes, and you just find your number, and we'll talk about how to find your number in just a moment, and you're good to go. And this pole has that bell tip. So that's a little bit about the anatomy of your pole. And now what I'd like to do is I want to actually demonstrate for you. There's two techniques that you want to think about. Technique number one, we're going to call the activator technique. These activator poles are patented. The hand grip's patented. The bell tip is patented. But if you don't have activator poles, you can use that same technique with any other pole. So I want to footnote that. Of course, virtually, I'm in my bonus room. I don't have a ton of space to move. If you have poles and want to try this with me, I'm really encouraging you to just kind of try it. So the first thing we need to think about, can you all see me okay? Just give me some kind of, can you see me head to toe? Can see my hands okay? Okay. The first thing we want to think about is, how the heck do I figure out how to make these adjustments on my poles? Using the activator technique. This technique I would highly recommend for people that have freezing of gait, that are a little unstable. Maybe their Parkinson's symptoms are a little worse than they used to be. This is an awesome technique to use for you, for balance. We're using these for balance, for stability, and all those wonderful benefits that I talked about earlier. I'm going to turn sideways so you can see me, but you're always going to have these poles in front. I just see a question coming from Judy asking if the shelves on the activator handle are in lieu of the straps. The answer is no. It gives you a ledge, but it really doesn't, the straps keep the pole tied to you. The ledge is really to use to help you push down and get that postural benefit. And again, you have the strap, perfectly fine. Use the strap or not use the strap. So in terms of adjustment, poles out in front and vertical. I want to turn and face you. So always want to have those poles straight up and down. How you know where to adjust it is when you hold the hand grip with the poles in front of you, putting one down for you, you want to make sure that your elbow is at a 90-degree angle, okay? So you would just have someone help you or do it yourself. And I had to play for a while to see where my best adjustment was on these poles. So we're at a 90-degree angle, and I want to give you some tips. And after I get done with these demonstrations, I'm going to have Nancy pop up just the main bullet points on adjustments. So you'll have those as well. But first thing you want to do, and you're going to hear me say this a couple times, you always want to get ready to move. That means you need to be in the ready position to move. And that's standing tall. You're gonna hold your body up against gravity the taller you stand. So you're gonna stand tall. The grip is an easy grip, not a hold on for dear life because I'm a little nervous about using these, a nice light grip. And then if you're doing this with me, everybody, I'd like you all just to push down. You can use that with your easy grip and feel yourself stand nice and tall. Okay. Again, I want to reiterate, always vertical. These poles are always straight up and down. How you're going to get that is by pushing down on the poles to lift you up. And we want to Nordic walk, pole walk, just like we walk. So it's opposite leg and arm. So we'll step with our right foot, reach with our left pole. And then step with your left foot, reach with your right pole. I'm gonna turn and face you. And I wanna do this slow and feel free to try this with me or not. So we'll step right, you're pushing down on that pole, and then step left. So we're going slow motion, right? As we work on this technique. And of course, ideally, we'd be in this big open area and you'd have room to move. So I'm gonna get way back. Can you see me? I try to put on something bright so you can see me. I'm just gonna walk. And if you're playing with your poles, I just encourage you to use this technique and just walk around in whatever space you have. One of the most common errors I see with walking like this is people get very tentative with their poles. So they're holding their poles up above the ground, not on the ground, and they're just gently tapping. So I want to take sure, Dale, that looked good. I want to make sure that you understand that principle of pushing down, really maintaining the contact with the ground on those poles. Okay. Does anybody have any questions on these, or should I just move on? Okay, I'm just going to move on. So now I'm going to move on to pole walking, Nordic walking. And I'm going to suggest, before I move on to that, if you feel that you're pretty unstable, not very balanced, not very confident with your walking, I really highly recommend, I'm giving you an overview. I'm hundreds of miles away from some of you, that you take time to meet with a physical therapist who can really help you and work with your form as you use these. So now I'm going to use these forms, and I'm going to recommend that if you're using the form for fitness intensity, that you have very mild Parkinson's symptoms, not using, Judy, I'm going to come back to these questions, I think, because of course I've talked way too much and I didn't think I was going to have enough material, and I'm looking at the clock, and it's we will have time for questions. So boot tip, here's the rub. The heel of the boot is going to line up with your heel. And in terms of adjusting it, you still want that 90-degree angle when that boot tip is, yeah, and I'm seeing a lot of questions about arthritis and hand grips. And I am going to give a little plug for the activators on that, because sometimes with the Nordic, that's one of the common errors. One of the common problems that sometimes arise is some wrist pain, and that's where my plug for the activators are going to come in. So the boot tip is lined up with your heel, elbow at a 90-degree angle, and these boot tips swivel. And I don't have my heel there now, so you see this, and I'm going to say the same things I just did. First thing we're going to do, oh, can't see my feet. Thank you. Okay, so pole is behind me, no longer straight up and down. You'll see that I have a little bit of an incline. I still have a 90-degree angle with my elbow. The best, easiest way, and if you have your poles and you want to try them, to get going on that is just let them drag behind you. So I'm gonna walk away from you all. The same easy hand grip, same opposite hand and leg, arm and leg motion. So just start just by walking and dragging the poles behind you. Here's what I want to emphasize. If you are walking for fitness and intensity, those poles are never going to come in front of you. They're always going to stay behind you. When you size, you have your elbow bent. When you walk, we're pushing back and down. So your elbow is always going to be straight. You're pushing down, elbow straight. So again, opposite leg and arm. So I'm going to go slow because I just want you to see the technique. Opposite leg and arm stepping. The tips of those poles are always behind you. Tips of the poles should always stay behind you. When you begin to get proficient, you can add what's called the handshake. So you can begin to move those arms a little more, get a little bit more push. And I'm just stepping away one more time. Okay. Here we go. This is my last demo. Try it with me if you want. So we're taking big steps, pushing down into the ground, even though those poles are behind you. Pushing down with those poles to take that step. Okay. I know that's a quick overview. You see my little picture. But now, Nance, if you wouldn't mind just bringing those slides back up on the screen for technique, and I'm just going to quickly run through them. Okay, so to reiterate, for the activator technique, oh, there we go. Yes, Judy, that's correct. For balance and stability, poles out in front, elbow at a 90-degree angle, always an easy grip. That might address someone's question about how do I prevent my wrist from getting tired. We're not grabbing onto those poles for dear life. All pole go behind or only the boot end. Okay, I'm gonna come back to that, Charlie and Pat. Okay, so 90-degree angle, stand tall, always stand tall, 90-degree angle, bell tips or rounded tips so you can really push into the ground, opposite leg and arm swing. Always keep these poles vertical and on the ground. You want contact with the ground every time you move that pole, okay? Then for fitness or for intensity, so we'll move to the next slide. The poles are behind you. 90-degree angle, standing tall. No, this technique, this pole is patented, but you could use this technique for any pole, Judy. If you want that for balance and stability, it doesn't need to be the activator pole, okay? Okay, so pole tips always behind. You notice I am never bringing the poles in front of my face, feet, not my face, as I move forward. So those are some of your key points there. And there's so many questions. I was hoping to move with you. Looks like we only have like about 5 minutes left, Nance. So I'm thinking maybe we should just get to the questions and see if I can address those. And I guess you'll just have to come back for a little pole exercise session.
We have something in the